Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Metal and all ships at sea. This is Bobby Blitz from Overkill, and yes, you are on barebonesmusic.com.
Barebones feature artist.
Evil G, barebonesmusic.com. I'm here with a thrash metal pioneer, Bobby Blitz of Overkill.
Hey,
man.
How
Thanks
are
for
you,
joining
Doug?
us, brother.
Yeah, good to be in Kentucky. I have a bet against another horse at the Derby, so I lose the bus if I don't win on Saturday.
Oh, who are you betting on? Do you know who you're betting on?
No, I don't.
I'll give you a tip, though, after we're done.
Very good.
I'll give you something you can at least throw some bucks down on. Hopefully you win.
Inside information. I dig this.
After 30 years and 16 albums, did you ever have the foresight that Overkill would still be touring the world like this and having, you know, doing what you're still doing today, doing what you love?
I think not having the foresight is why it happened. I think it's really about day-to-day stuff. You know, if an opportunity arises on this Thursday, take it in Louisville, make the most of it, and then Friday will probably present an opportunity. So I really think we're more of a day-to-day type band. I mean, this is unique in itself that it's less than 3 decades that I've known Dee Dee Verney, and we've done this professionally for 25 years. But, you know, the other side of the coin is that to say this is my long-term plan, I think is really bullshit. I think it really has to be about the day-to-day, taking care of the little things, and when the little things are all in line, the big things happen. So, you know, days turn to years and years to decades. This is your 25th anniversary KILLFEST tour, 2010. When you first started in 1985 with your first album, you know, the business has changed so much. What kind of, you know, how have you guys adapted to the change from, you know, 85 to 2010? The way the music, how's the music industry changed and affected you guys? Well, you know, you first have to understand Dee Dee and I started this band when we were both 9. So we do the math. Obviously, technology was quite different at that time. We're not talking about instantaneous information back in the 80s. You were talking about legwork. You would have to go out on the streets. You would have to deliver demos to record companies. You had to get them to your shows by soliciting them face to face, as opposed to, you know, the Facebooks, the MySpace, the text, the even email for that matter.
Right, sure.
I mean, this is pre-Al Gore's glory day of inventing the fucking thing. Now he wants me to wipe my ass with one piece of toilet paper. He can't be in a thrash band with a dirty ass. Al.
That's rough, man.
Between him and DiCaprio, man, I tell you. He's got like 200 cars between them. Why don't you shut down your shit?
Yeah, right.
But in any case, you know, it was about legwork and putting... you know, flyers under windshield wipers, networking with other bands. You know, whereas now, obviously everybody knows what the other end of it is. It's instant information. And we were there through that transition of the legwork all the way up to now 3G networks. Sure. So I think that, you know, our thing is to stay connected to both. I think there's something charming about the legwork because it's really... They were, you know, I walked to school uphill both ways in the snow, you know, and that's the way you think of it to some degree. And we keep that kind of an old school mentality, but still have to stay current and instant information. With regard to the industry itself, I mean, it's obviously eating itself alive.
Right, sure.
You know, they're in a panic with the download, and there's nothing you can do with the free cyberspace and everything.
Sure.
But we've always adapted, and I've always kind of turned a blind eye to the download because I really believe that, especially metal people, want to hold things in their hands. You know, they want to possess it because I think it's a sense of community that we have. It's not disposable, obviously, like pop. Sure. You know, I mean, there's icons of pop who've lasted for decades, but in general, a band, a pop band of our stature in pop would not last 30 years. There's not a chance.
Right. From your first album, Feel the Fire, how important is it for you guys now today to kind of keep those songs alive, along with keep the fans happy, but keep you guys happy at the same time while you're playing live? Because you got a ton of shows to do.
That's a great point. It's a great question because it's necessary to know where you've come from, to know where you are today. But I think that one of the interesting things about doing the older songs is that they obviously become reborn. They're not copied from that time, even though 2 of the members are the same. 3 of the members are not. So if we add something like Feel the Fire into the set, it doesn't sound like Feel the Fire from the first record.
Right.
It sounds like Feel the Fire 2010. So that's what I think is necessary, is to always kind of note and mark that progress or that evolution, because then it actually becomes changing, and then we're not living back then. We're just saying, hey, this is where we've come from, but we're presenting it in let's say today's light.
Well, tell us about Ironbound. I mean, new record. It's been out. It came out February 9th of this year.
Well, has teeth, that's for sure. I like to think it's reinvented Overkill. Like we were talking about, do you redo Feel the Fire? Is it the same? It's not the same. It's, it's elements of how it started, but how it started was strictly chaos. I mean, and now that's kind of evolved into controlled chaos. I mean, and that's knowing when to crack the whip, when to load the gun, when to fire the gun. And that's the difference between just firing indiscriminately all the time. And that's what Feel the Fire was. But Ironbound now is that controlled chaos, and with that, there's a lot of power. So it's rooted in the old school. Again, not forgetting what we are, but let's say polished contemporary, polished to 2010.
After 16 albums, do you have one album or a moment in time that kind of defines your definitive moment for Overkill?
It's hard to say with 16 records. I think Overkill has been done in chapters. I mean, I think there was 4 records that were the first chapter, and probably the definitive record of that was The Years of Decay. And then the next chapter goes from Horoscope up until The Underground and Below. And I think both of those are bookends. Horoscope and The Underground and Below are great definitive Overkill records, because I think they show what we have fully. Horoscope being more of a line charging out of the cage, and The Underground and Below being more of that controlled chaos that we started to understand, and it became a really cohesive record. I don't know where it is from that point on. Ironbound has a good chance of being one of those definitive moments, because I think it's the best we have at the time. That's what you always want to try to accomplish, a good representation of what you are at that particular moment when you're recording. And if you get the energy in there on top of it, man, you may have that defining moment. So I'll know in a year or 2 about Ironbound. But those other 3 are probably defining moments.
Do you feel like there's some sort of groundswell or surge of metal in the past several years, or has it always, do you always feel like you've always been in that current all along?
Well, we've always been in the current, because we're not a reunion band,
right,
regardless of lineups. We've always done it. A lot of people, one of the great misconceptions is that in the 90s, when grunge stomped all over metal and everybody else went home, worked for mom and dad, there was about 8 bands who hung around at this level that toured like mad, and it became a really fruitful time and a great time to kind of solidify yourself as or your staying power. Right. So it really helped us from there vault into the new millennium, past the 90s into 2000. But I see, a great competitiveness coming up with the Warbringers, the Eviles, Bonded by Blood, Gamma Bomb, et cetera, some of these newer bands. And I think that it gives us legs, because there's younger people into it again. Right. But it also gives us the, hey, wait a minute. Let me show you how this is done.
Right, right, yeah.
I mean, you don't want to bow to it. I mean, I really like the, the whole idea of the competitive nature of this. I mean, it can be done friendly, and I'll tell you. I mean, we did Overkill Exodus through Europe, and I've known Gary for as long as Bonded by Blood and Feel the Fire existed, and he walks off the stage with that kind of sideways George Clooney smile, sweating his ass off, and goes, "Beat that, Bobby Blitz," and I go, "My pleasure, motherfucker." But that's the nature of the beast,
right? Sure, yeah.
And that's why that competitiveness only helps the other, the audience wins. That's who wins out of that.
I'm here again, Metal Pioneer, Bobby Blitz, Overkill. Good luck with the rest of the tour. Thanks so much for joining us. Ironbound, get it right now. It's out. Also, by the way, give me a little tidbit here. Go get you got a song Bare Bones on Horoscope. 1991. Pick it up. Our song.
It's only song we've ever done with piano.
Oh, well, I don't know. So, all right, Bobby. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it. All right.
My pleasure.